It is my great pleasure to now introduce the second keynote of this morning, Pat Yongpradit. I see him coming, that's great. I wasn't sure where he was. So Pat has a very interesting background and professional experience that I think will be very useful to the conversation on what is AI literacy, what does workforce development look now, what should we be teaching our students. He started as the Chief Academic Officer for Code.org. He then switched gears and went to Microsoft, where I'm going to ask him what it is that he's doing there, because I'm really very curious to know. He has a heart for education and for literacy, and you will see that. I'm going to give it to him for about 10 minutes, but he did not want to do the traditional keynote. Then he said, I want to sit with you, and we're going to have a conversation. I'll also be monitoring the link. Please put questions in there. I don't want to just have canned questions for him. I want them to come from the audience. So while you give the talk, you want me to sit over there or over there?
Sit where?
I'm going to sit over there.
You can sit anywhere you want.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then we do the fireside chatting.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, everyone. Hi. How's the day going? Yeah? Oh, okay. I guess I'll begin. My name is Pat Yongpradit. Quick background on me. I used to teach, and in my heart, I'm still a teacher. And if you're a middle school teacher out there, I owe you a drink. I was a middle school teacher, and there are many, many funny stories that middle school teachers can tell about their experience teaching middle schoolers. In this picture, this is actually the last class I taught in high school, Springbrook High School, Silver Spring, Maryland. Yes, wow, okay. Springbrook teachers? Mocha. Einstein, you're okay. This is actually my Women in Technology Club, and that was 2013. I taught for 13 years, and I still think about like waking up from this dream where I left the classroom and opening my eyes, and I'm there in my classroom again, teaching kids, having a great time. After teaching for 13 years, I joined Code.org. Raise your hand if you've heard of Code.org. Thank you. So thank you for probably your support and your energy around computer science education and AI education. Code.org was doing AI stuff way before ChatGPT released, and I actually remember, because our CEO was friends with Sam Altman, seeing early versions of ChatGPT and thinking, oh, wow, this is going to be a big deal in, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. That was literally 6 months before the release of ChatGPT in November 2022, which blew all of our minds. So from Code.org, I've now joined Microsoft, leading global education and workforce policy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that with Amarda. But I wanted to start off by going back to basics. Here's the thing. A lot of us think about AI as a tool. And a lot of people will say even the phrase, AI is just another tool. And certainly, the idea of teaching with AI is something that's very pervasive in the education and technology space right now. And it falls into 3 buckets, teaching with AI: using AI as a tool for teacher support, student learning, or even school management and operations. So like connecting your student data systems into an AI interface in order to gain insights. And Microsoft has tools related to this, teaching tools that are very similar to lots of other organizations out there, as well as student tools that are pedagogically designed to support learning. They're not just open access co-pilot layers. But there's also this other aspect of teaching with AI that I want to build on to improve your mental model of AI in education. That's teaching about AI. So think beyond AI as a tool. If you're not even in education, think about beyond AI as a tool, and think about AI as a topic, because before you were a worker, you were a human and a citizen, and we're going to be engaging with AI for a very long time, And so you should probably understand how AI works at a basic level and be literate around it, understand its capabilities and limitations, and certainly its ethical considerations and social impacts. I know that the first keynote speaker today certainly would heartily agree with the idea of understanding the ethical considerations. This is teaching about AI. It's not just viewing AI as a tool. And students need to learn this as well. All of us need to learn this. There's one more layer I want to add to that. But before I do that, I want to get a little bit deeper about understanding AI. And I want to highlight certain things that we should have been teaching all along that AI now provides the context for teaching more of. That's things like computer science, social studies, language arts, statistics. And when I say social studies and language arts, obviously every school teaches these things. But do we talk about ethics in social studies? And in language arts, are we still just pushing the 5-paragraph essay? Or are we kind of evolving what language arts instruction looks like because of the influence of AI? When we understand how AI works and the statistics and the probabilities behind it, we are actually better able to use AI in a responsible way. So that's the importance of learning about AI. It's not just so that kids can become AI engineers. So all of us need to develop this basic, what I call AI literacy, this fundamental AI literacy. There's one more level to this, though, and that's teaching because AI. Now, there are a lot of teachers out there that don't want anything to do with AI right now. They don't want to teach with AI, and they certainly don't want to make room in their curriculum to teach about AI, but they still actually need to teach because AI. Because regardless of what's happening in their classroom, the world, kids, as they step outside of their classroom, are going to be using AI, and so they need to change how they teach. And so teaching because AI is evolving curriculum and instruction to reflect AI's influence on education, workforce, and society. And so this is how I want you all to think about AI in education, and certainly there are analogs for AI in the workforce as well. And so whether it's changing how we assess students, including more real-world scenarios, and even debating in language arts classrooms, focusing more on presentations than just writing. These are the things that we do because AI. And so when we talk about AI literacy, which there's a panel right after me that will dive deeper into this, we also need to understand that AI literacy doesn't just, it's not like a new discipline. Yes, you could probably implement it as its own class, but it actually pulls from multiple classes. And so whether you're integrating AI literacy into other subjects, or you're creating an AI literacy class and integrating those subjects into that AI literacy class, it is interdisciplinary or cross-disciplinary, whatever you want to call it. And these are some of the things that education systems have been trying to teach, but they've had a hard time really scaling these types of things. AI is that context as well. And so I want to let you in on something. There's been something that's been cooking up for a while, an AI literacy framework at the global level. It's being led by the European Commission and the OECD. The OECD is that group that administers the PISA exam, reading, science, math. They're the group that makes America look bad every 4 years. That's that group. Well, in 2029, they're going to be running a media and AI literacy exam. Can you imagine that? A global PISA media and AI literacy exam. So 15-year-olds all over the US will be evaluated on their AI literacy, and hopefully will do better than we have been doing with math. I think math, we're always like 24th or something like that. Hopefully we do better. And we can do better by actually instituting some of these domains in our curricula, whether it's engaging with AI and understanding what is AI and what it's doing in my life and what is it doing to my perspectives, Or on the other side, even designing AI, actually like getting in there and shaping how AI performs. There's nothing more empowering and nothing more demystifying than actually dealing with the data and seeing how it changes AI model performance. And these kinds of things are not just for AI engineers. There's lots of curriculum out there that's available to teach people about this. And actually, I want to make a special plug for a Lenovo, Intel, and Microsoft partnership around something called an AI Innovator Challenge. So, and this is a challenge that I think it's in its either second or third year. In this year, these groups have even created lesson plans, a series of 15 lessons. It's an AI Innovator Studio to help teachers teach students about all 4 of these domains. So look out for that. The competition wraps up actually in June, and so look out for the next challenge administration. Lastly, I want to talk about the future work before I bring up Amartya here, because my work involves both education and workforce policy. And here, I'll tell you Pat's personal opinion on how job disruption will occur per AI. All right, and I understand this is mine, and this is based off of some of the articles and some of the things I've been seeing happening now that I'm a big tech company insider. So job disruption isn't going to happen because these AI tools can finally do a bunch of your tasks and you're just going to be redundant. By and large, that's not going to happen. Yes, we might see it in customer service and other fields, but there will still be large-scale job disruption when we look back 3 years from now. It's going to happen in like bunches and tranches of like 1,000 to 5,000 people being laid off here and there. And what it's going to be driven by is companies trying to get the ROI from their AI investments that these are publicly traded companies, that they feel that their financial backers, their shareholders, want to see from them. And now, I'm speaking very broadly about companies. I'm not just talking about tech companies and such. And so what's going to happen is folks are going to almost jump to creating larger margins by reducing their workforce almost ahead of time with hoping that the promise comes true. And even if the promise doesn't come true, just getting more efficient is just a good thing anyway. So even if it's just a context or even an excuse, companies are going to be doing this. And so if this is the reality, regardless of the technology's performance, we all need to think about how we put people first during this time. I'm at Microsoft. This is happening right now as we speak. So we're looking at how we think about AI adoption as not just a technical challenge, but also a social challenge. How do we change our processes and the way we think about trust? How do we make sure that our employees, our internal employees, 220,000 employees worldwide, can transition with this transformation? How do we make sure that worker voice is foundational? We have a partnership with major labor unions, whether it's in the US or even in Australia. And then how do we make sure that we're still providing career pathways for people who are entering work for the first time? Hey, by the way, if any of you are like recent grads, I feel for you. It is tough. You're like in this limbo state where the transition infrastructure is not there yet. Things are really evolving. You're hearing this, you're hearing that. You're not sure what to do. You don't know if it's impact of AI or it's just the impact of the economy. It is tough out there for you. There are folks like me who are trying to figure this out at scale policy-wise, but ultimately, we're trying to do our best. And right now, those of you who just graduated, you really are in a limbo state. So my heart goes out to you. And if you want to talk later about career advice, I'd be glad to give it. With that, I'd love to bring up Amartya to have a discussion and maybe like farm some of these questions that you all cooked up. I actually asked Amarta to keep it spicy, so we'll see how well we do, all right?
I don't know about spicy, but let's just say substantive. Let's go with that one. So I actually do want to take 1 or 2 more minutes for you to tell folks how your view of things has switched, because you spent a career in public education, right? You started in middle school, then you went to code.org, and then you went to a major, industry. You went to Microsoft. So how has that changed the way you view education, the way you view, if you want to talk also about workforce development, any new insight now that you're kind of on the outside?
Well, yeah, so building on what I just shared about the workforce, I'm part of a large tech workforce right now at Microsoft, and then I also get to have conversations with peers in other companies to understand what they're doing. And to answer your question, Amarta, like my view on education actually hasn't changed, and actually it's been bolstered by the people that I get to work with. For those of you who are like my fellow educators out there, like these tech companies, it's my first corporate job, folks, and I was pleasantly surprised. Like, these are just normal people who really want to do good for them. I know it sounds like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, like I'm a company person now and I got to say these things, but I mean that's what it is, Amarta. Like I'm in Microsoft Elevate, which was designed for this moment. We brought together K-12 sales, community college sales, nonprofit sales, sales to like IGOs like the World Bank, along with philanthropic partnerships and skilling, along with policy. We mush these things together. There's really no other company out there that mushed these 3 things together. Microsoft did that because we feel like we need to have a comprehensive approach to education and workforce and nonprofit and social impact right now. So no, my education views haven't changed. They've been bolstered by like-minded people who've chosen to work in this very socially impact-minded part of Microsoft, and it's supported all the way to the top.
Well, I'm glad that they hired you, for sure. We would love more educators to go and inform the tech companies on what they should be doing for higher education. Talking about what they should be doing, I want to talk about on-ramps. This is a topic dear to my heart, and I know it's dear to your heart too, because when you were the chief academic officer at code.org, that was the time when we were trying to make coding more accessible to everyone, whether it was students, teachers. It was a lot of effort spent, right? A lot of social capital. And now things have changed. They've switched. In some ways better, in the sense that that access has been broadened, right? But in some ways, as you acknowledged, in a confusing manner. So as you think about the on-ramps, the kids in the K-12, and then going to the community college, and then going to the higher ed, how does this moment change or should change the way we prepare them to go from that K-12 to community college or to higher ed directly? Are some things easier? Are some things better? Is there something we're not doing? I know this is a huge question, but I see you posting on LinkedIn, so you have thoughts about this.
I do, and I don't know where to start, actually, Amarta. You're talking about on-ramps, and I'm gonna double down on my expertise, which is K-12, and the thing with K-12, it's always been, I don't know if people understand that K-12 as a feature isn't supposed to be able to pivot quickly, because K-12 education is foundational, fundamental education. It's durable education. And so it always falls, it comes after the innovation's already happened and the fundamentals have been identified, and then those fundamentals are run through multiple grades of students. That's the design of K-12. And so it's really difficult right now for K-12 because the speed of change is so fast, and like the North Star or the endpoint hasn't been clarified. And so even if people wanted to change curriculum or whatever en masse to meet, to prepare people for this AI-influenced workforce, it's going to be very difficult for them. So what I tell them, Amarta, is, hey, we've been at this reform game for a very long time anyway. Like the things that we've been pushing, project-based learning, inquiry, student agency, guess what? These things still matter, and they matter even more. So this is our response. Our response is doubling down on the things that we've already been pushing. Competency-based education. I could go on and on and on. If you take the top 5 innovations in education over the last 20 years, they still apply, and surprisingly, they apply even more in an age of AI. So that's what I tell folks, and basically, like, you know, so keep doing what you're doing if you're being innovative, and then just keep an eye on this AI thing, and making sure that you aren't just waiting for it to figure itself out. You do need to adapt and flow with it. But most of your energy should be applied to the things that you're already kind of working on.
Okay, so that's a good framework, right? There are things that you already have, that you believe in, rather than question and change, try to understand how those things...
Yeah, you don't need to play this keep up, catch up game.
Okay, I like that because it speaks to a mission, an identity, right? That's your core, and some things don't change. Now, we've been talking about AI literacy, and whenever I hear that word, I do cringe a little. And I always want to ask people, well, I may know what that means, but do you know what that means?
So, you know, AI literacy, AI fluency, AI competency, AI proficiency, AI skilling, these are all vessel terms at this moment right now. What I mean by that is we're so early on in figuring out that they're all terms used to describe what do people need to know and do for this age of AI, right? And so they're vessel terms, and so I might define AI literacy differently than other people, and that's why I put up that graphic. There is a definition that's part of the EU OECD framework coming out. It's the definition I subscribe to. It's technical knowledge, durable skills, and future-ready attitudes. And it's composed of those 4 domains: engaging with AI, creating with AI, managing AI, and even shaping and designing AI. So if you do those 4 things, and the construction of that knowledge or that discipline is based off of knowledge, skills, and attitudes, then you're good to go.
So I did this exercise too, because I realized that I had been teaching a course and I had just told people, okay, this is an AI literacy course, and then I sat down in my basement, that's where I do my best work, for a few weeks, and I mapped out accordingly to the Bloom's revised taxonomy. The educator researchers in the room will recognize this. That's the Bible of how you're supposed to codify things. And there is a code. There is a way that we can use to talk about what technically is literacy, what is fluency. But at the end of the day, as much as, you know, I wrote 35 pages of this paper, it doesn't matter too much. What matters is that even if you use the umbrella term AI literacy, you really spend the time to change the attitudes of the students in your room to understand that understanding AI is your civic agency. You can't let other people answer questions. You have to be able to answer the questions yourself. And that understanding, how do these systems work? Where do they work better? Where do they fail? What should I be doing? Right? What is the ethical way? Even if you don't get to that sophistication of, you know, training or large language models, that is enough. That is, we've been doing,
enough.
Right? That is enough. We've been doing literacy, right? We kept talking about literacy campaigns, right? Reading, literacy. Okay, this is a new form of literacy.
Yeah. I mean, literacy just means everyone needs to know it. That's ultimately what literacy means. And when it comes down to what you said about attitudes, I mean, yeah, if the students coming out of your course are more curious, if they're also more skeptical, like these are good things.
They are
even if
definitely
they
more
don't,
skeptical.
Yeah,
They're definitely
even if they don't know what backpropagation means, that doesn't matter. And just to be clear, when I talk about AI literacy, I might even say technical knowledge. Really, it's socio-technical knowledge. It's not just technical knowledge. And it's certainly not to the level of like, you know, literally, you should understand the training of a model simply because it has social implications, but you don't need to actually know it to the level of like what an AI engineer knows it. That's not what AI literacy is.
Yes, so I'm glad that we hashed that out. The next panel will get a little bit more in detail on different ways to teach and in different disciplines. And now I keep thinking that we're doing a lot, but what are we not doing? That's the one question that I keep asking. What are we missing? What are we missing? From where you sit, because you get to talk to a lot of educators, right? That's one of the perks of the job. What do you think, what else should we be doing?
You know, actually, I'm going to broaden this to organizations. So anyone like feel like you're like a leader, you're a company leader, whatever you are, VP, deputy, this, that, raise your hand if you are a company leader. Okay, or some people who don't want to raise their hands. Okay, so, and actually this does apply to folks who aren't technically a company leader. What I don't see enough of is showing and telling, and just being open about your AI use. Like I see a lot of like, I do this for myself, but I'm not sharing it with anyone, and I'm certainly not sharing it with my leaders, because I don't know how they would feel about it. Do they think I'm dumb because I'm using AI to do my job? You know, or are they going to be super happy about it? Am I going to work myself out of a job? And so there's a lot of shadow AI use. And the number one thing that we can do as aspiring organizational leaders, aspiring AI champions, or actual company leaders is just do a show and tell. You know, take a departure from your typical staff meeting. Tell everyone, hey, the next staff meeting, I want you to bring one problem that you address with AI. I want you to evaluate the positives and negatives of it and be ready to share. We're going to get you into groups of 4. You're going to share about it. You're going to pick one person to share about it with the rest of the team, and we're going to do this, you know, once a month. Just doing that, you're already putting into motion the AI transformation that all company leaders want to see these days.
Okay, sorry, I keep looking down because I keep monitoring for questions from the audience. I like that. That's something that we have started doing at Mason. I've heard enough about strategy, AI strategy, so we decided, okay, faculty, staff, come show us what you're doing. Even if your findings were this thing doesn't work, I am not going to use it. That's perfectly okay. That's actually sometimes more valuable, knowing what not to do. So you will hear later a couple of cases, sort of demonstrations, but there are entire sessions that are devoted to staff showing one another today what they have built. Instructors, there's also one of the other rooms has that if you'd like to go there. Or if you can't make it, you're going to get a flavor sample of just 4 picked out vignettes a little bit later in the day. Now, anything that I've missed, anything that you want to share?
Yeah.
Because I remember you telling me, I want to ask you questions.
I have a bazillion questions. You all in the George Mason community are so lucky to have a treasure like Amarda. If you know, Amarda doesn't. I know she wouldn't like me saying this. So I maybe she's turning as red as her hair right now. Is she? Like, so you know, Amarda, I read your posts all the time. I love how they're technical, they're social, they're philosophical, they're reflective, they're practical. You're sharing what's going on inside George Mason and your role as a chief AI officer. So helpful for people like me, and I imagine so helpful for lots of other people. So if you're not reading Amarda's posts, and I know probably Amarda's writing it as part of her duty as a public intellectual, but also probably just to get your own thoughts and like sift through your own thoughts, right, Amarda? So that's actually a practical for you all. I wanted to put up another slide at the end. So if we could go to that QR code. The biggest practical I can give you, you're already doing it because you're here at this event and learning from one another and learning from the students out there. But become part of a professional learning community. This is the world's largest learning moment. And so whether it's subscribing to a Substack or just getting on LinkedIn and poking around, LinkedIn is not TikTok. It's not Facebook. It's not Instagram. It's also owned by Microsoft, so I'm kind of biased. But it's wonderful for this moment. Absolutely wonderful for this moment. And I would say write your own stuff because you'll get to connect with other people, and you'll also start building up your own views and perspectives. Only when you do that, only when you're learning within a community can you really meet this moment right now, versus just tinkering around with chatbots on your own.
Very well said. That's why we have communities of practice at Mason. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to understand. Speaking of LinkedIn Learning, apparently the #1 skill that George Mason University staff are learning in LinkedIn Learning is, it's not Excel. It used to be. It has been overtaken by AI.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's AI literacy is the #1, just I think, in many regions for LinkedIn.
So our community is trying to learn, is trying to understand. And if there is one thing that I hope you take away is that even if we don't have it all figured out, we're all trying to learn together.
Yes. And to answer the initial question that you asked me, you asked me what's different about my educational perspectives, and then also, Pat, what are you doing at Microsoft? I'm promoting AI literacy, I'm promoting responsible AI in education, and I'm working with governments to separate fact from fiction when it comes to the future of work. So if you want to talk about any of those things and you're representing a company you want to partner, there are definitely opportunities to partner.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta.